Ayo, that LG2 is cooking up. You heard? We cooking that up. We bagging that up. And we about to hit the streets with that. You heard? So make sure you caught up on all the episodes from the first season. It's a playlist. The real story of LG. Go to that playlist and watch every episode. You heard? Cause we banging. Z-Man Suicide Polo with the ski man running around the hood like He-Man. Because he can. Yurt. And you already snow cone. If you love the channel and you love what I'm doing over here, feel free to send a Cash App donation. You heard? We like the kind of money that jingles, but we rather have the kind that folds. Sexual chocolate. Nah, you already know though. Brownsville, Brooklyn, Dykeman, 200 block. We in the building. You heard? Send me an email if you want to collab. I got them verses. I call them hearses because I kill them.
Dig it. What happened? We in the burn. Alright, so Devon did a lot of time in the box. He didn't really spend too much time in the population. That shit kind of fucked with his head, right? So when he came out the box, he thought everybody was trying to get him, right? So we was all, the jail got locked down for something. While we was on lockdown, he heard the blood dudes talking about something. He thought they was talking about getting him. So when he come out of the cell, he attacked these dudes. These dudes is unaware because they really wasn't talking about him. They talking about something else, right? So, you know, motherfuckers put hands and feet on him or whatever. That's the people's though. We don't know exactly what happened. We just hearing Devon got jumped. So we're like, all right, that shit, we can't let that shit rock. So now dudes is ready to go to war. But then when we find out, because the blood dudes, they knew he fucked with us. So the dudes came out to the yard, Shaniti and them, and they like, yo, homie, this is what happened. Right? And they tell us exactly what happened. We like, all right, cool. How are we going to deal with this? Now, everybody's making money, right? Dudes got drugs, you know, working the yard and all kind of other shit. So motherfuckers like, we don't all need to go to the box over this shit. Devon got an issue with this dude. Boom, him and that dude can settle that shit. And we send Devon a message like, yo, homie, when you come out, keep locked, you and home team gonna go gun to gun or whatever, boom, right? Now the blood dude, he don't got a problem with that, right? Devon, for some reason, he sent word out like, yo, when I come out to the yard, I want everybody lined up on either side of the door, like he the fucking president or somebody, right? Boom, and you know, some dudes is like, this nigga bugging, right? And he come out, it's me, Barry, Madge, me, Barry, Madge, Marquise, Ro. Like, yo, it's just mad dudes from Brooklyn that's just to get it in, right? Dudes is out there, but motherfuckers ain't doing all that lineup by the door and shit. So we tell them like, yo, homie, you and dude gonna go in the bathhouse and y'all gonna motherfucking shoot it out, and you know the bad man win. And he's like, nah, man, we just all run over there and attack. I'm like, we ain't doing that, right? All them dudes ain't had nothing to do with it. And they said that this is what it is, man. Like, you fucked up. So you and dude gonna do X, Y, and Z. So now, the blood dude is walking towards the bathhouse. Devon start walking behind him. He run up to him, right? And stop. Dude backed up, pulled his razor out his ass, boom. He got the dude do all that shit and didn't do nothing, and then ran, right, when the police start coming, right? He ran towards me like he was gonna give it to me. I'm like, homie, I don't know, get away from me. I'm not, that shit didn't make no sense. I'm not, you gonna hand me the weapon in front of the fucking police while they chasing you, right? Boom. And he went to the box, right? That's how that situation happened, man. All this shit he talking about, Mike Murder from Brownsville was there, right? Like, you had some live wires in the yard. When nobody out there scared of near blood that was out there, man, right? And this shit, that while he's targeting Berry, trying to make it sound like Berry specifically left him for dead, I don't understand it. And I've spoken to Devon, right, about this shit. And, you know, he was like, oh, yeah, because he forgot that I was even there. He forgot that he tried to hand the gun off to me when he ran, right? But he's still pushing this narrative. And I think he doing homie injustice because homie hand don't call for that. So I just wanted to weigh in on that because, like, that's what happened, right? Nobody left homie for dead, right? We made sure that it was going to be a fair fight because if we had left him for dead, the brothers could have just jumped him. or snitch somebody at him when he was unaware. You feel me? They didn't do that out of respect. Boom. He was gonna get a fair one, and he didn't take it. Man. So that ain't on nobody but him. You dig? So I just wanted to put that out there, right? For anybody that might listen, who think that Devon might be accurate, that shit he's saying ain't accurate, right? Like I said, Madge, any of the dudes that was there, Big S, all these dudes is home now, right? And they'll verify what I'm telling you, right? They'll verify what I'm telling you. So Barry ain't do nothing wrong to that man, and I don't know why he pushing that narrative. China became China because Shadow is Shadow, man. Dudes fuck with China because I was like, yo, that's my little bro. You know what I mean? Boom, and dudes jack that and let him rock. And China just got too big for itself, man. Right? And he forgot who Big Bro was, right? And when he came home, and I'm telling him like, yo, you can't move like this, you can't move like that. He basically like, nah, man, I'm gonna do me and whatever the case was. So I'm like, all right, do you? I still love him. That's still my brother. You feel me? But he doing his thing, and I'm doing my thing, right? And if those things, where those things connect, we speak, talk, we always cordial with each other, and where they don't, I do my thing over here, he do his thing over there, right? I got mad love for that dude, man. It's my little bro. He just, I don't think he remembers that he's my little bro. He thinks he's big bro, right? And apparently, what I was told recently, over the years, a couple of dudes have reminded him like, yo, dudes only started fucking with you because of Shadow, man. But, you know.
You met son in the Bing?
Nah, I met him when I came down for court. They sent me to Tulane, and he was in Tulane, right? And, yeah, he was on the other side. And I had got moved to his side, and me and him just connected, right? We was vibing or whatever. So I was feeling some energy. I like this kid, man. You know? But yeah, it just stuck. I'm like, yo, this little bro right here, right? We actually, crazy shit. We did it, like I had cut my finger, and he cut his finger. We did the whole blood oath thing, like, yo, we blood brothers now, right? And like I said, it took that shit to heart. Like, that's little bro. So if he had beef, I had beef. I had beef, he had beef. Well, that's how it was. And this shit just went somewhere else, I guess. The first time I got there, it was a little nonsense rivalry, man. Word. And that was 1990, as a matter of fact. 1990, summertime. I had just came back from out of town. And I went to C-74. That's when they first opened Mod 10. I was one of the first people in there. We went from Mod 10 to Mod 8. It was me, CLR from Fort Greene, Shaka from Edgemere, Country from Edgemere, Corey. Who else was over there? South. I was about everybody, man. You know, Rikers Island back them days right there. That shit was kind of crazy.
And where you caught that robbery at? In Brooklyn?
Yeah, that was in Brooklyn. That was in Brooklyn. Matter of fact, on the train. To be perfectly honest, it wasn't even really a robbery, man. What it was, a dude got robbed, right? I was on the train. He was a young kid. And I'm like, I was coming back from the city in fucking, you know, in Brooklyn, we was called Manhattan, the city and shit. So I'm coming back, and I'm like, damn, shorty, you fucked up. And I like went and touched him on the shoulder, and the police grabbed me and said, I committed the robbery. They grabbed me and another dude. Word. So I was like, yeah, I ain't even do nothing. That's how I ended up coming home. But I laid up on the island for 6 months for that shit. Word.
I done heard 1,000 rumors about you, my bro, but I don't know what's true and what's not. But was you a Decepticon or what?
Absolutely. Absolutely. D-Shep all the way, man. I had my own chapter called the Spartacon. Out of Bed-Stuy, man.
And that's where you from? You from the Stuy?
Yeah, I'm from the Stuy. Born in East New York. I mean, not East New York, Lower East Side Manhattan. Bred in the Stuy, man. But Big Rumble, God bless him, he gave me that chapter. There was another dude chapter in it was supposed to be a situation. The chapter was supposed to get faded, and Rum was supposed to be fading it. And he was like, yo, everybody come to the park on this day at this time. And the dude who chapter was supposed to be a guy named Bloodshed. He was scared, he ain't come, so I was there. And Rum was like, yo, you taking responsibility for this? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, this your shit now. And that was that. Slaughter Cars, man, Brooklyn Decept. Shout out to Big Rum, man. God bless him. But
So you said that was 90 when you landed in the Ford building for the first time?
First time, 1990, man. Went from Mod 10. From Mod 10, I went to Mod 8. I stayed the rest of that 6 months in Mod 8. Like I said, the shit was kind of jumping, man. And we was over there. On the other side, it was Shoeshine, Sterling, and Kojak. Shout out to all three of them. You know what I mean? Mod 8 was rocking, man. Word. We used to go out of the lot with Four Main. Four Main was the Latino brothers. They didn't particularly, back in them days, you know, we was young and foolish, man. So, you know, it was a little bit of a race thing. A lot of them brothers ended up becoming good friends of mine over the years, though. You know? But that was our primary. Them and Fort Upper, we used to go at them a lot.
So your first time on the island, when you got there, you already knew mad dudes on the island, or dudes tried to try you, or what?
Nah, see, that was the thing. So outside of so my real association, I ran around with a lot of Asian dudes, man. I really didn't run around with black dudes a lot. So when I got to, and the whole thing with the Decept thing was a part of that. Like, all right, boom, you black, they black. If you could take this over for us here, then we could put stuff in this neighborhood type shit, right? Boom. So that was really my first interaction with dudes like that outside of dudes in my neighborhood. So when I got to Rikers Island, I didn't have the same contacts that dudes had, or the rapport dudes had from DFY and Spofford and all that stuff. So I had to establish myself right there. You know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, these dudes don't know me. I don't know these dudes. I got to show these dudes what I'm hitting for, man. You feel me? So I had to turn up. But with that being said, right, what I'm not going to do is sit here and act like I was the rootin'est, tootin'est, gun shooting this dude on the island. I was able to do what I was doing because you had dudes that was older than me, right, had more experience than me, that was willing to let a dude shine, man. They saw, all right, shorty got some fire in him, let's see what he about. You know what I mean? Like, Shoeshine, Sterling, Hook Off. Well, not really Hook Off a little bit, but more Rumble, Killer. These were the dudes who was already there. They had the building shaking when I got there, right? So I remember Killer and John Rambo from the Bronx, because it was a big Brooklyn-Bronx thing going on, right? And he had snatched Killer chain. We was on a visit, and there's a bunch of Decepts. All these dudes is Decepts. Killer was Decept, Rumble was Decept, Hook Off Decept, and that's Lil Rumble I'm talking about. We was all in the building together. Venom was in the building with us. Right, shout out to Venom. And we was all on the visit, and John Rambo had snatched Killer chain. Killer beat the brakes off him, man. Right, and then that went from that to a whole Brooklyn-Bronx thing right there on the visit floor, like the prep for the visit, because this was before you go on the visit. You feel me? Killer was coming off the visit when John Rambo got his chain, but he beat the shit out of John Rambo. But like I said, these was dudes that I had known from the Decept shit.
He got the chain back?
Nah, man, he snatched it and passed it off. But like I said, he got the shit beat out of him, kicked the fight like a motherfucker. So he beat the shit out of John. He was talking to him while he was beating his ass.
That's what started the whole Brooklyn and Bronx shit?
Nah, that shit had already been going on. But from the way I understand it, right? And this, I'm just telling it to you how dudes told it to me. The way this shit supposedly started was B.O. from Brooklyn had come through, and dudes from Uptown didn't know who he was. So they said a dude from the Bronx had caught him coming off the visit and fiend him out and took his rings, like caught him slipping. And that was where the shit started, because B.O., he was well known in the Brook. So dudes showed up for him. And whoever the dude was from the Bronx, I can't tell you exactly who that was supposed to be. Apparently he was somebody too. So that was where, from how I got it, how dudes gave it to me, that whole Brooklyn-Bronx thing was supposed to start. Dudes violated B.O. and the shit just kicked off from there. And I'm not talking about Stacy Knight BO, just so we clear, because it's like 3 different BOs. But that was before we got that shit started. But and so when I came through, that shit was already on and cracking. Alright. But
what's the longest you was ever in the Bing in the 4 building?
Alright, so when I went home off of that, when I came back, man, I did most of my time in the Bing, man. Well, I spent more time in the Bing than in population. That's a fact.
You know, I heard that you was one of the original Bing monsters. Was you the dude who coined that term? Or, I mean, was you the dude that made dudes coin that term? Or was it other Bing monsters that you knew about before you?
Nah, it was dudes before me, like Frazier. Man, you had a couple dudes, man. Pookie. Them dudes was in the Bing for mad long, but they didn't, see, that was alright, so in 90, I had never heard that term. In 91 was like the first time I started hearing the term Bing monster. And even then, though, you had a bunch of us down there. It was down there for a long time. Shaka from the Bronx. Shaba from the Bronx. He had hella Bing time. Motherfucking, who else was down there? Marty from Brooklyn. Simeon. Couple dudes, man. It's a long time ago. I can't really remember everybody's name. But as far as, like, consistently, like, homie, because I had to declare war on a whole house. So whenever I caught dudes in the pins, on the bus, wherever, they was getting it. So that was keeping me in the Bing.
What house was that?
It was Mod 9 North Side.
And that was what, the side that was mixed with Uptown and all of that?
Yeah, that was primarily Bronx dudes, right? But what happened, I had come down for court in 92, and fucking me, China from Connecticut, and Cash, we all went down to Mod 9, and dudes bust a move on Cash, and you know, he came down there with me, so the dude that came down, like, that jumped on him, I cut him, and everybody else jumped up, so we cut and stabbed a couple more dudes, but after that, I was like, yo, I catch any of y'all anywhere in the building, man, y'all already know what's going for, you going to KCH. You feel me? So, we just kept it going, man. We had actually started a little crew in the Bing called the Gangster Boogeyman Squad. It was me, China, Spank from Queensbridge, God bless him. He's one of the original good fellas from out that way. Lakey, another one from Queensbridge, one of the good fellas. Who else? Kaka from Kaka originally from Brooklyn, but he moved out to Queens. Cisco from LES. Rage from the Bronx. Like, we had a little mixed group down there. Fruit and them was down there with us too. Big Fruit from LG, but he wasn't part of the Gangster Boogeyman Squad. But Fruit was down there. He was doing his thing. Tank had Sean from Fort Greene was down there. Who else was down there? We had a BO, other BO, Bobby Love. He was down there from, I think he's from Fort Greene too. Well, we had the primary Brooklyn dudes on our side, man. Like I said, we were just doing the thing. Some dudes just catching wreck just to catch wreck. You know? But and before that, before I went up north for court, actually before I went up north at all, period, I was in and out the Bing just because that whole Brooklyn-Bronx shit. See, for me it was weird because I had homeboys from the Bronx, but I'm from Brooklyn. So I just got whoever was from either side that wasn't my peoples, right? And that was just where it was for me with that.
How you ended up in the streets in the first place, like robbing niggas and shit like that? Like, how you ended up with, know what I mean? Like,
nah, what it was, that really for me, it was just following my peoples, man, wanting to do stupid shit because I really didn't want for a lot as a kid growing up. But you know, you always want more as a kid growing up because you don't realize what you got. So, I first started fucking around with dudes on my block. We gonna do stupid shit. But I used to stay with my aunt a lot in Queens. And where she lived at in Queens. It was this Chinese dude. Me and him became best friends. And as we got older, he got connected with some shit, and I just got connected right along with him. And that was my introduction, my real introduction to the street. Right, running around with Asian dudes, man. You know? And that's a different type of game, doing the extortion thing, robbery, you know, all that type of shit there. That's why I said, like, and I grew on going out of state a lot. Like, a lot of the shit I was doing was out of state. But that was really it, man. Like, motherfuckers just, like I tell people, the Asian dudes play by a different set of rules, man. You feel me? So when I was doing shit back in the neighborhood, dudes thought I was crazy, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing? But that was just how it was, man. The whole killing thing, like, actually just killing the person you're coming to kill, and not just shooting at the building, shooting at the block, shooting at the corner, just walking up to the dude and putting it in his face. That was a whole different type of thing. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
But and shout out to my boy David, man. You know, that's my boy, that's my brother there. That's the guy that introduced me. So shout out to him. But yeah, outside of that, man, you know, from there, getting in with the Decept shit, that got into a whole bunch of crazy shit. You know, Decepts were violent. We would be up at people's schools, running around with hammers and razors and shit, right? The crazy shit for me is when the Bloods first came out, that's what they kind of reminded me of, the whole Decept situation, because a lot of the shit they was doing, with the exception of the cutting babies and all that stupid shit, was shit the Decepts used to do, right? But we just had a little bit more love and loyalty for each other than them dudes did, because you didn't really hear about Decepts doing shit to other Decepts to where you heard about Bloods doing shit to other Bloods. And on the Rikers Island, Decepts pretty much stuck together for the most part, as opposed to how the Bloods do, because Decepts wasn't well liked because of the shit that was going on in the street. You feel me? So.
And what high school you was going to?
I went to McKee Tech. That's in Staten Island. Well, I used to have to travel all the way to Staten Island, man. It's me and one other dude from Brooklyn. And the one incident we got into out there, dude ran and left me by myself.
Where's that at in Staten Island? Like, what part?
Like a couple blocks from the ferry. Right, like as soon as you get off the ferry, you walk up like 3 blocks. McKee Tech is right there. There's 2 schools over there, McKee and Curtis. So that was it. But that shit was, you know, I didn't really go there for long, man. I went to McKee for a little bit. I dropped out. Boom. I moved to Florida. Was hustling down in Florida for a long time. And like when I said earlier, that when I caught that case in '90, I was coming back from out of town. That's actually where I was coming from. I was coming back from Florida. You know? I was in Florida for like 2 years doing it.
So you said it was Staten Island dudes that tried to front on you in that school?
Hell yeah, man.
What?
Coming from Brooklyn, dressing nice, coming from Brooklyn, I had the 3-finger rings and all that shit like that. And I'm not from out there, and that was a problem. That was a problem. You know? So, and I thought I had a little rap game back then, so that was another problem too. But, you know, that was little kid shit, man. It was just weird. Staten Island, the crazy shit for me too is that a lot of Staten Island dudes are from Brooklyn. So, I guess they move out there and forget they're from Brooklyn. But it is what it is.
What you said landed you in the Bing for that long in the first, like the longest you was in the Bing for?
The longest I was in the Bing for was when I came back from court from in 1992, right? And that whole war, when I declared war on the north side of Mar 9. Now, prior to that, before going upstate, I had done a lot of time in the Bing because, I was actually young and stupid and reckless. Probably the longest time I did in the Bing before that, it was for cutting up this dude, Jamel. He was my homeboy. We was supposed to be cool. Long story short, we was in Fort. They had just opened up Marv 4, right? And they started some shit called the Winners Program or whatever. And it was like, yo, nobody's supposed to get cut down here. ERU was supposed to be the COs down there and all this and that other shit, right? That was Marv 2. And fucking this dude named Roy Rogers had did some crazy shit, and Rum had cut him. So when Rum cut him, they came in and they wilded on everybody and they started splitting us up, right? Because everybody in they specifically brought everybody in there that was supposed to be a shooter, right? And then they, unfortunately, a couple dudes came in that wasn't shooters and didn't realize who they was around, or thought that because we had ERU as our staff that they could just do whatever, right? And homie made the mistake of doing that, and Rum blew his motherfucking head off. Boom, and they saw the program wasn't gonna work, so they started splitting us up. So I ended up going to Mall 4 Lower. And the dudes that had the phone in Mall 4 Lower was a dude named Ray. I can't think of the other dude name, but all these dudes was from Uptown, right? And I had some homeboys down there from Queens that they wasn't letting these dudes use the phone, right? So I'm like, yo, what's up? What's happening with this phone situation? They like, oh, you know, Shadow, you good? You could just get on the phone whenever you want, but these dudes can't rock. And I wasn't cool with that, right? So I'm talking to my man Ace. I'm like, yo, Ace, we got to do something, right? Because Ace was from Queens, and Mel was supposed to be my man when I first got introduced to Mel by my man White Mike. He told me Mel was from Brooklyn. So I'm like, all right, cool, Brooklyn love. We get down there, all of a sudden Mel from Uptown. So he heard I was going dead both of the phones, and he come tell me, yo, homie, I can't let you do that. So I'm like, the fuck you mean? You supposed to be my people. You supposed to be riding with me. So the next day I deaded the phones, and they came back from court. And the whole shit jumped off, and me and Fat Cat from Queens was basically going at it with these dudes. And I had cut Mel up pretty bad, and I cut the dude Ray up pretty bad, right? And that's when I first landed in Bing for the longest time right there. Right, they wasn't trying to let me out. And then again, every time, Shoe Shine told me one time, right? You know, this is tangential. He told me like, yo, if you bring drama to a dude, you cut somebody, you stab somebody, every time you see them after that, you're supposed to do something to them to make them fear you, right? Because that fear will keep them from wanting to do something to you. And that shit stuck. He told me that shit, and I took that shit to heart. So every time I did something to somebody, wherever I saw them at, whenever I saw them, I didn't give a fuck who was there. They got the business, right? And naturally, if you already in the Bing, you're not getting out the Bing. You constantly going back and forth the Bing court. Right? I remember Too Short and them tried to bail me out the Bing one time. They got, cause that used to be a thing. Dude could be in the Bing. You could go to whoever, like the security captain was like, yo, we'll give you this many raises, this many bangers. Let him out the Bing. They would agree a lot of the time, and you could get out. And the day I was supposed to get out, I shot a motherfucker in the hallway, man. Right? Fuck that whole shit up. Naturally, they wasn't gonna get back to ratings and shit, but it was that type of situation, right? Like I said, I took that shit. Shoe Shine told me the heart, man. So if we had drama, you wasn't safe, right? That was my whole mentality. You wasn't safe. I was gonna get you. I remember I stabbed the dude in front of through Captain Ford. Or Dep, he's a Dep. I think he was Dep 4. He was the Dep. They had just made him the Dep to C-74. And he was doing a tour of the building, and I saw one of my ops, and I just started stabbing the shit out of the dude, and the dude was standing there watching me stab this dude. And when they had me in the wild meat pens, dude came to the pen and was like, yo, you know who I am? I was like, nah. He's like, yo, man, I'm the Dep. You're not supposed to do that in front of me. I'm like, I don't give a fuck who you are. The shit had to happen and happen. Fuck away from the gate, man. You know what I mean? But that's, again, I took that shit to heart, man. You know? Like I said earlier, these was the dudes who, in my opinion, were like, they basically took me under the wing and showed me, like, this is how you do this, Shadow. This is how you know, make motherfuckers respect your shit. And I did that. I made sure motherfuckers was gonna respect my shit. You feel me? I did 24 years straight, came home and then did another year on a violation. That shit Shoe Shine told me stuck. It worked. Right? Dudes don't want no issues with me, and at this point in my life, I don't want no issues with them neither. You know what I mean?
So, yo, bro, listen, you know niggas be exaggerating shit, now I mean, that you hear in jail and all of that, but I heard you was born with some type of bone deficiency where niggas was like, yo, son look crazy, scary, and evil. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I done heard it all, my bro. I done heard it all, and I'm sure everybody that know your name, that never saw you and don't know you, they done heard it all too. You feel me? So what was it really that these dudes was talking about?
Nah, so my shit is like asymmetrical. One of my eyes is lower than the other one, right? Boom. So I guess it do make me look crazy because a lot of people tell me I look evil and shit. Well, a lot of people tell me that, like, yo, you look evil as fuck. So even my wife be telling me that sometimes. But I guess that coupled with the attitude, right? But on the flip side of that coin, I met a lot of people who tell me, yo, when I used to see you coming through the halls, they used to be like, yo, that's a scary motherfucker right there. And then they get to know me, they be like, yo, you cool as shit, man. Right?
Nah, I know people that know you. I know a lot of people that know you. And dudes said that. Like, niggas was like, yo, if you know son is a good motherfucker. But if you don't know him and he pop up on you, you're gonna be under pressure, son. Niggas don't even want to see that nigga, son. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, my nigga. Realistically, bro, I know that shit ain't easy. You got a lot of people that they grow up with deficiencies or this or that. And motherfuckers is cruel out here. Like, motherfuckers is cruel out here. So I know, how was that shit growing up? Like, your shit was always like that? Like, niggas was playing around. You had to put niggas in a place not to play around with you or shit like that because of that? Like, how was that growing up? Because I know that shit make a nigga have a lot of pinned up anger and want to tear a nigga head off too.
Well, it's kind of mixed, right? Because on the way, so first, it wasn't like I wasn't born like that. I don't know what happened. The shit just slowly developed like that, right? But growing up, I'm from Brooklyn, man. We grew up fighting anyway, so motherfucker was gonna fight just because. You feel me? It wasn't really a thing. It wasn't until like maybe I got to prison and it became a little bit of a thing. Like, for example, I remember one time, when the first time I ever met Science from the Bronx, he was like, yo, it's an evil looking motherfucker right here. He's like, because it was morning time. I came in that night because I had cut something in they moved me from March 6 to, I think that's the first time they put me in March 4. Before there was a Mark 4 lower, and I went and I cut somebody in Mark 4, and they put me up in 2 upper, which was crazy because 2 upper there was one side of 2 upper. They had a sign up by the bubble, the phone does not dial 718, right? Like Brooklyn was unwelcome in 2 upper, right? So I'm a Brooklyn dude in a Bronx house, right? And these dudes don't even know who the fuck I am, right? So
Pardon self, and for people that's young and listening, back in the days, Bronx was 212.
Yeah.
Like, they joint wasn't 718, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Now they 718, but back in the days, Manhattan and the Bronx was both 212.
Big facts. Big facts. So he brought my food to my cell in the morning time, and I sat up in the bed. He was like, "Oh shit, yo, that's an evil motherfucker." And early, so he said this shit, I kind of growled at him and shit. The motherfucker jumped back out the cell. Oh man, I had dreads back then too, so that didn't help. Motherfuckers used to say I was like the predator. Like, oh, yo, son, that's a predator right there, man. Don't fuck with homie, man. You know? But that was primarily just in the prison system. And then mostly, again, that was like dudes from him, a dude, Kev Spice, maybe a handful of other dudes was the ones that mostly commented on it or commented the one time. When I got up north, though, a lot of COs, like I used to get at COs a lot, right? So, and they always had something to say. But it was cool, because we was enemies anyway, so just give me a reason to knock you upside your motherfucking head. You feel me? Yeah, man, but that was a whole thing right there.
So you said you went in that house that was all uptown house?
Yeah, 2 upper, man. 2 upper, I believe that was north side. It had Wacko was up there, son. Now, I had known Wacko in Ewok from when I was there in 90s. Now I'm talking about 1991. When I was in the building in 1990, me and Wacko was in Marday together, and we had established a rapport, right? And I had known I don't even remember who the fuck introduced me to Ewok, right? But I had met Ewok in damn, I can't think of this dude name. Frazier, right? Ewok had actually introduced me to Frazier, right? So when I come back in 91 and they shoot me up there, Ewok was up there and Wacko was up there, right? But again, they don't know I'm up there yet, because when I came in, it was the middle of the night, everybody was locked in. So I come out and I'm like, you know, what's going on? I already know what it's hitting for because I'm from Brooklyn. But then I see them, so we start talking. So Ewok was like, nah, it's all good, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But I was only up there for a couple of days because, again, for the fact of me being from Brooklyn, and then I'm getting on the phone, and dudes was like, nah, man, this can't rock. So they send dude Lil Bobby at me. He stabbed me on my arm with a pin. I tried to blow his motherfucking head off. The whole house jump up or whatever. That was a whole situation. Boom, and they moved me out the house. But I went on the other side with Simeon.
The whole house tried to run you out?
Yeah, man.
The same niggas even niggas that you was cool with?
Nah. Ewok and Wacko, they had no parts of that. Ewok and Wacko ain't had no parts of that. That was just science in them, man. Like I said, they sent Lil Bobby over there, and he stabbed me with the pen. When I jumped up and tried to cut him, the dude K9 had clipped me from the side. He like punched me and shit. So I went to cut him, and then we just started brawling, man. Everybody jumped up, so it was me and them, and that was it. I walked out. The only mark I came out with was the shit where he stabbed me with the pen. I'm sure I cut somebody. I don't know who. Nobody claimed anything. So that was that. They put me on the other side. And after that, motherfuckers want to talk like, yo, let's leave that shit alone. This, or whatever. Right? And Simeon, on the strength of Simeon, because Simeon was like, he didn't want to get caught up in the middle of that shit. So we left it alone.
You talking about Simeon from Flatbush?
Yeah. Simeon was the south side of 2 Upper was his house. So only the north side was an all Bronx side or uptown side. South side was Simeon shit.
Who was in the south? Who was over there?
It was Simeon was there, Spanish Mike was there, and now I'm talking about the one from Flatbush, because you also got Pretty Boy Mike and Boricua Mike, right? They're not the same person, and it wasn't either one of them. But the other Spanish Mike, obviously he's Spanish too, but he was from Brooklyn. You had Gully was over there. Let me see, Gully was over there. Simeon, Mike. Fuck, man. See, that was a long time ago, man. I remember them because them was the ones I used to talk to all the time, right? And matter of fact, the dude I mentioned earlier when I said the dude Mel and another dude tried to catch me slipping in the hallway, I clipped him up there, right? We was supposed to be throwing a party for Simeon when he came back from court, and anybody that wasn't Peoples was supposed to lock in. So I had told dude, I had kind of took dude under the wing a couple days before that, right? So I guess he was feeling himself. When I told him like, yo, man, when we do this party, you can't be out here, you gotta lock in. He was like, I'm not locking in. I was like, what? And then Mike told him to lock in, and he agreed. So I'm like, wait, I was bigger than Mike. So I'm like, yo, you more afraid of him than you are of me? He's like, I ain't gonna say I'm afraid of him, but you know. I was like, all right, don't even worry about it, man. So boom, he went, we did the party. The next day I went to court. I came back from court, I blew son head off, right? And he told him, well, I got a new charge for that shit. Right, he told him, dude name, he used to call himself. Well, he told him, fucking dude told, man, press charges and everything. So that was a whole nother. I got a 3 to 6 for that.
You got a 3 to 6 just for one cutting?
Yeah.
They ran it concurrent with your shit or consecutive?
Nah, man. That was a consecutive bid.
Niggas gave you a whole 3 to 6 for one cutting on Rikers Island, and that was 9-2?
Yeah, that was 9-1. I got sentenced in 9-2, but I did that in 9-1.
I ain't even know they was giving niggas new charges in 9-1.
Yeah, man. I think I'm one of the first dudes to get a new charge for cutting on Rikers Island, man. Right? Just like, and I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I was the first dude to get classified predicate, CMC. It was they had me with 3 statuses. I was predicate for cutting. I was CMC for fighting the police. And it was some other shit, right? But I remember motherfucking, the Dep I had mentioned earlier, when they did this shit, they brought me in the office, and he was like, congratulations, you the first person in history of Rikers Island to get all 3 of these at the same time, right? Cause they got us all at the same time. They made Fruit was a predicate in CMC, China was predicate in CMC, motherfucking Wemo was predicate in CMC. Who else was down there with us, man? It was a couple other dudes, but they got all of us with the same. Oh, the handcuff order. That's what it was. That's what it was. That was the 3rd status, right? We had everywhere we was. Anytime we was out the cell, we was supposed to be handcuffed, right? That's what the other shit was. So even if we was walking down, if we was walking to a visit, and I'm putting things in context, on Rikers Island at the time, C-74 was like almost like fucking being in New York, man. Motherfuckers stayed in the hallway all day, walking around, no handcuffs, no escort, no nothing. But if you had that shit, anywhere you went, you had to have an escort and your hands had to be cuffed, right? And then they took it to a whole nother level where they wanted to cuff dude, like they had a belt, and the cuffs went through the belt, and your shits had to be cuffed like that, right? But
yeah,
they didn't.
And they came out with the mittens.
Yeah, I heard about it. I never experienced that, but I heard about the mittens. I heard they got a face shield too, right? A face mask or some shit, cause dudes was spitting or biting or some crazy shit. But yeah, man. But a lot of that, we was the first ones with that. And as far as having all 3, as far as I'm aware, I was the first person to have all 3 of those statuses. Right? I had motherfucking Infinity in the Bang. I remember I used to come out to Ramadan because that was the only way I get out the cell. And this old timer named Farad, he heard us talking because we used to meet up with the dudes from 6 Lower Bang at Ramadan. Barry, my boy Barry Goods, him and a couple of other people was over in 6 Lower. And we come to the Ramadan, we in the mess hall, we talking and shit. And the Farad heard me say that I was like, yeah, man, I just got another ticket. I think I might have had like, no, and this is not an exaggeration, man. I had at least 3 years in the Bing at that time, like to do that I owe, right? Boom. And if you know Rikers Island, you know your tickets come like 30 days, 90 days tops, if I remember correctly, right? So for me to have accumulated that much fucking Bing time, right, and we talk about in a couple of months, because I had just come down for court. This was in 1992, right? That was some shit. And Farad heard that, and he was like, yo, what you did, little brother? You killed somebody? I'm like, nah, man, every time I come out my cell, though, somebody gets shot. And he was like, yeah, you need to slow down. And he told me, when I was on Ramadan, he's like, as long as you coming down here, we can't call you Shadow, because that's the problem. Your name is about darkness. We need to bring you into the light. So he started calling me Noor, which means light in Arabic. But that's how crazy it was. Like,
that's your attribute?
No, yeah, Noor-the-Deen. That's my attribute. You know, up north, we first went up. Me and my people was going to war with everybody, like Latin Kings. Nietas wasn't really big at first when I got upstate, right? But then they started getting big. By the time I got the green, they were big. You had Latin Knights, you had Cañoneros, you had fucking La Familia, like all these different Latin gangs. And in Green, they had a thing that there could be no gangs in Green that wasn't Latin. If it wasn't 5% or Muslims, they wasn't jacking and they was running dudes out of jail. And I'm talking about before there was Bloods or any of that shit.
What years you was at Green?
I got the Green in 94. I went down to court. I came up in 92, went back down in July of 90. I came up June 92, went back in July 92, came back up in, I want to say May of 93. Was in Caxsaki, because I went to Caxsaki when I first came up, went back to court from Caxsaki, came back to the Cat. I was there a year, then I went to Green, right? And Green was like the Wild West, man. Yeah, homie. It was a red dot. Squeak from Fort Greene was there. Shy, God bless him, from Best Style was there. Twin was there. Derek Watson, him and his brother was there. Both of them was there. Kojak from LES was there. Teacher from Flatbush, who's down in Florida now. He got the world famous House of Mac. He was there. Too Short was there. Playboy Shorts. Oh man, I hate not remembering people's names, man. Yeah, I can't remember it, but Barry was there, but Barry left. Barry's little brother was there. P-Wop was there. Damn, I can't remember this fucking dude. Reg was there. Reg's co-defendant, I can't think of his co-defendant name. He was there too. It was mad. It was a whole bunch of motherfuckers over there, man. If anybody I forgot, I apologize, but we was over there kind of deep, and we was flicking it up one day, and we just being stupid, throwing up gang signs and shit. And this little dude could have been more than 4 foot tall, walk over to us and like, yo, I be the almighty warlord of the Latin King Nation. Who y'all supposed to be? This. And that shit just rubbed everybody the wrong way. So we chased that little nigga down. We chased that little nigga down. And that started the whole thing. So now we on the war with the Latin Kings. But they were supposed to have a treaty with Ice, my man Ice, Spanish. He was there. He was running the Latin Knights, right? That's important because they had a treaty there, all the Latin gangs, that if one of them went to war, they all went to war. But
yeah, I remember that Latin Knights. It was also Brooklyn Knights, right?
Nah, when I was there, they had what they had right before I got there was Black Mafia, and Black Mafia had just went to war with all the Latin gangs, and a lot of them had got ran out of there. And them was my peoples. You feel me? So I'm coming in just as that shit is dying down, and I'm hearing about what the fuck happened, right? So I'm already plotting and shit, and then some shit happened with my man Spank. God bless him. And when Spank found out I was in the jail, he sent me a kite with a list of dudes' names on it that like double crossed him and shit. And so we start knocking niggas' names off that list, right? And again, the Spanish dudes had an issue with how we was doing shit, so we started going to war with them. But Ice, that's my peoples. So he's like, yo, I'm not going to war with Shadow, right? And he didn't exactly take a neutral position. He more leaned towards our side, you feel me? And a lot of my mans from LES, like I said, I was born in LES, and I spent a lot of time in LES growing up, so I knew a lot of dudes, man. And I used to fuck with a lot of Dominicans too, so the Dominicans didn't get involved in that shit. So it was really that. Long story short, the Latin Kings end up having to go at us by themselves. The Nietas was helping them here and there, but for the most part, it was just us and the Latin Kings, and they couldn't fuck with us, man. And the crazy, it wasn't even a whole lot of us. It wasn't more than 20 of us. But everybody was a stand-up dude to let that thing go, man, right? And the reality is, them dudes wasn't like that. They had shooters. I ain't gonna sit here and say they didn't have shooters, but for the most part, them dudes were just a bunch of dudes that clicked up together, and they found their strength in numbers, not in individuals. And that made the difference, right? We end up convincing the Nietas to stay out of the shit because my man Teacher had got the constructs on a visit or whatever, and this dude D-Train wanted to borrow his Teacher boots, and D-Train had the black Timbs like the constructs, so Teacher let him borrow them. They switched, and then Bink, that's homie name. Reg's co-defendant name was Bink. Bink tell D-Train like, yo, Shadow and them, they sneaky. Them niggas might dead you on your shit, boom, boom, boom. And that wasn't the plan, because as far as we was concerned, we was all from Brooklyn, we was all peoples, right? But when he said that, he actually told Teacher that that's what Bink told him. So now I'm like, all right, so now we're going to do what they expected us to do.
Bing, you talking about Bing? He was from Brownsville?
Yeah, with the shit bag. But so when homie came to the yard to get his boots, when he handed Teacher his boots and went to take his boots, I took the boots, and I was like, yo, man, take these here and go on the hop. That's a dub. You ain't getting these back, right? And the Nieta dudes tried to use that as a reason to come at me because they feel like it was their job to protect everybody in the jail. You know, D-Train, so in between the shit with the Nietas, after that, D-Train, he said he wanted his shits back. He ready to go gun to gun. I'm like, all right, cool, come to the yard. He come to the yard. It's July. This motherfucker got on a hoodie, a sweatshirt, an army coat, a state coat, all this shit, boom. I'm like, yo, let's go behind the weight shack and get it on. But the police is already watching him because he got all that shit on and it's hot as fuck outside. So long story short story bearable. Police came over while we was talking. I walked off. They grabbed him, searched him. This motherfucker got can, top, lock in the sock, and all kind of other shit in his pocket. But he brought all that shit out. We had more than enough time to get busy, right? Boom, so they take him, put him in the box, whatever, right? All right. So now the Nietas feel like they got to retaliate for him, even though he wasn't in Nieta. So the head of the Nietas was in Twin house. So I was like, yo, Twin, let me know when homie go to sleep. Twin sent me word over to the dorm. I was in E dorm. I went over, snuck in the dorm. I was sitting in homie cube. I kicked the nigga bed. He woke up. I was like, yeah, man. He's like, oh, shit. He started checking his face to see if he was cut. I'm like, nah, you good, man. I came over here to talk to you, but you see what could have happened? You all in my business, man. This is what could have happened as a result of that, and we talked. And after that, he's like, yo, I respect Shadow shit, man. Fuck that. We ain't got nothing to do with whatever he get into with the Latin King. You feel me? So we pretty much isolated the Kings. And after that, I was like free lunch. You know what I mean? And shortly after that, they kicked all of us out of the jail. But mysteriously, we all got shipped out the jail. Alright, so that was the thing. That went from there to Attica. Most of the shit in Attica was with the police, man. Cause I know you know about Attica police. The motherfuckers right there is dirty, or at least they were. I heard they supposed to be a little bit different now. They got wear body cams and all kind of other shit. But back then, dudes was foul as fuck. Right? But yeah, man, I went to war with the Kings. When I went to Orleans from Attica, I started going to war with the Kings again. And then that shit cost me my motherfucking my parole date. So I ended up going back. I went to Auburn, and then it just took up from there. Now it's Bloods in the state. And them motherfuckers start acting stupid. So now I'm going to war with the Bloods. Whole big situation, man. I spent my whole bid down there. From the time I hit Rikers Island to the time I came home. On the island, it was in and out the Bing. I got up north, it was in and out the box. Right? I think the longest time I ever spent in population was a year. Right? And that wasn't frequent. I could say like 3 times during the course of my bid, I stayed in population for an entire year. Outside of that, I'd be in population for a couple weeks. Boom, I'm back in the box. I might do 2-3 months here, back in the box. 6 months there, back in the box. Right? Just war. That was the whole bid, war.